Hey guys, Sundan here. This is going to be my chapter review to My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia 250. What's it called? Ending. I thought, for a 14-page chapter, Horikoshi has really got this down to this art down to an art. I think I was going to say down to, yeah, he's really got this down to an art. He's really fine-tuned his ability to pack things into 14-page chapters, or even like between the pages of about 12 to 16, which is about a couple pages shy. If it's about 14 pages, it's about 3 to 4 pages shy of a usual chapter length in shonen. But he has become masterful at doing this, and this chapter was no exception. Absolutely balling chapter, and considering the implications we get and what might occur through this, it's gonna be insane. I can't wait to see what happens next week. But let's get straight down to it, or right down to it. So this chapter is called Ending, named Ending after the villain which appears in this chapter. So he's the guy that's narrating early on in this chapter. He says he's talking about his first impression of Endeavor. He was like a solar flare burning furiously. It looked to me like he was shining, something like that. So he's speaking about Endeavor, this dude in a hoodie with a striped hoodie. So it's a black and white, or a darker color and white striped hoodie, and he's talking about Endeavor, saying, "Do you remember Endeavor? That day I was sinking into despair, depression. Even the drifting clouds looked like shit. I didn't really care about anything. All I saw was you who caught a thief named Takami." So I get the drift here that he's talking about himself as the villain, but I wasn't sure. I was like, who is he talking about? Who is this guy? And I didn't know what side he was on, whether he was going to be evil, whether he wasn't. But I got the feeling when I was reading this that the guy called Takami was actually this guy, but I didn't know who he was. He says, ever since that day, Endeavor became his ray of hope. 7 years ago, he hesitated, and then Endeavor captured him alive, which is why I assumed it was actually Takami. So then we continue. We move away. Well, actually, we don't even move away from this guy. He's talking about, and this is where we realize that this guy might be, he might be on the borderline of batshit crazy and just almost crazy. But this is where we start to get a hint of that, a small flavor, if you will. He talks about how the only equal thing that people have in life is that they get to choose how they die. They get to choose how they close the curtains on their lives. I'd argue there are a few more things you have a choice to do in life, but this is definitely one of them, depending on how you go out, right? So he talks about how when he got out of prison, the first thing he did wasn't eat, wasn't go take a shit in a clean toilet for once. It wasn't not drop the soap. It was he went snooping into Endeavor's background. And what did he find out? That's what we're left at the end of this chapter wondering. So he sees Natsu chilling. I think his name is actually Natsuo, so I might have got that wrong last chapter. But he sees Natsuo chilling outside Endeavor's mansion, Endeavor's yard. And he actually injects something into his neck here. So this guy somehow, somewhere, has got his hands on the drug called Trigger. And that drug, if you remember, I think it was introduced. It was introduced a while ago, probably about a good 90 chapters ago, something like that. But it's a quirk-enhancing drug, so it just makes your quirk stronger. It makes your quirk go, not necessarily out of control, but it kind of, it's like a steroid for your quirk, right? It just amplifies your quirk, is the best way I'd go about saying that. So he injects this into his neck. We then don't see what happens. We see Bakugo, Deku, Shoto, and Fuyumi chilling inside at the dinner table again. And they're talking about Toya. They're talking about Shoto's deceased older brother. And Fuyumi mentions they haven't spoken about him yet. Shoto says it's not something that's easy to bring up. But apparently Natsu... Well, it says here his name is Natsu. Okay. I don't know. His name is either Natsuo or Natsu. But Natsu and Toya were apparently very close. They used to play together all the time. But then, due to Shoto's incident, their mother was hospitalized. Her condition got worse. She wasn't allowed to see Shoto. And then she started making a recovery. And she was allowed to see Shoto for the first few times. And their family was taking a good turn. But Natsu is the only one who refused to let his guard down, because for some reason in that time frame of Shoto being burned and his... But that's what it looks like anyway. Shoto being burned, his mom being sent to the hospital, and then being allowed to see her again. In that time frame, it looks like something happened in which Toya is perceived at least to have died. And Fuyumi says that Natsu blames Endeavor for his brother's death, and he actually thinks that his dad killed him. So it's not even that you're to blame for his death, it's you killed him. And that's a very different frame of mind, So I'm not sure exactly what happened, but this, I really, really want to know the exposition behind this. What could he have done? What could Endeavor have done? Because there's no way in God's green earth that Endeavor, NG, whatever you want to call him, would ever kill his own child, right? So what happened? Did he push Toya to such an extent that his quirk just went apeshit and ate him alive and started burning the house down or something like that? Maybe that's why someone like Dabi has so many burn marks all over him. And Bakugo here mentions seeing Natsu and the face he was making, how serious he looked, how afraid almost, I think, how annoyed he looked at having his father in the place, how almost torn. You know, he wants a family, but he doesn't want his dad. He blames his dad for all of this stuff that's happened in their past. So he thanks his sister and he heads out, which is where he most likely met the ending dude. Endeavor then comes into the kitchen or wherever the dinner table is. I'm not sure how it works in Japan. But he tells the kids, he's like, alright, it's time for you all to go back to school. Deku obviously always very polite, thanking Fuyumi for the meal. I love the fact that Bakugo here, his face is just like, he doesn't even have features in his face. It's just a sketch, an outline of his head with eyes. And he's like, teach me your mapo tofu recipe. And I was like, yo, okay. Like, I didn't realize Bakugo, I'm not sure if it's ever mentioned, but apparently Bakugo he's interested in cooking. And Shoto tells his sister, text it to him, and that's all good. Endeavor thanks Fuyumi, she seems happy. And we get a really kind of cute moment where Fuyumi holds on to Deku's hands, and she's like, thank you for being friends with Shoto. And Deku's obviously, he doesn't really mind so much. I thought it was a bit harsh that she didn't really say the same thing to Bakugo, and he's kind of just looking over like, I'm not sure if he's concerned, if he really cares or not. But I feel like, you know, as the older lady to these kids here, she really should have extended her thank you to Bakugo, even though throughout the whole last 2 chapters he's been denying his friendship with Shoto. Anyway, they're in the car now. They're speeding back towards school. Endeavor says, we gotta really rack up your skills. We need to power you 3 up immensely fast. So next time, in addition to you working weekends, you're going to be working 2 days in the week as well. Shoto and Deku are taking this kind of very seriously, and then you see Bakugo with his head out the window saying, you know, you're the freaking number 1 hero, can't you get a bigger car where there's 3 of us in the back, 3 kids, and we can't freaking fit. And then what I thought was really funny was Endeavor's chauffeur is just as aggressive as Bakugo. He's like, oh, you got your own chauffeur, you're still complaining, you ungrateful bitch. And I'm just like, oh shit, like this guy's pretty aggressive. And Deku makes mention of the same thing as well. And he even turns to Endeavor. This guy's got the balls to turn to Endeavor and say, when did you start picking up high school dropouts? And Endeavor's like, since they made me the number 1 hero, my G. So yeah, I thought that guy, the chauffeur, the driver, was pretty crazy. Anyway, as they're driving in the middle of the road, you see this dude in the distance, and his quirk is super weird. So he's manipulating these white lines, and he's got Natsuo wrapped up like a mummy in these white lines. Very reminiscent, actually, of Medusa from Soul Eater. And you can see the lines on the ground, the lane paintings on the ground on the road. They're actually what's being manipulated. And so it's the lane paintings on the ground that are being manipulated. You see the number 60, which I assume is kilometers per hour. That's uplifting, and that's coming away from the tarmac. From Liverpool, not me. But so he's manipulating this, either paint or some part of the paint that allows him to utilize it all. And his quirk must be crazy, because like paint in and of itself isn't very strong. You can't wrap people up in it and they can't break out some shit. It's paint. But somehow he's able to, whatever he's doing to it with his quirk makes it strong enough that he can use it as bindings. And he just seems to be crazy. He's got this really like kind of sadist look to him with his tight leather outfit by the looks of things. And I'm not a fan of like that type of look, but it definitely suits him. Anyway, he shouts out to Endeavor saying, that's a nice house you got there, Endeavor. Natsu's there shitting his pants. The driver tells Bakugo to get his head back in the car. And they just miss this villain by the looks of things. And Endeavor rattles out the car like a freaking meteor. He looks insane. I'm going to try and fit that into my thumbnail. He looks he's pissed off. He's identified the situation already, and he's come bawling out. All this kind of paint that's being manipulated by this guy's quirk wraps around the car. You see the number 6, which is now upside down, just being hurled towards the car. Endeavor says, let him go, all that good stuff. And this is where we find out that this guy is a tiny bit of a crazy ass Endeavor fanboy. So he's just there like, remember me, Endeavor? Endeavor actually remembers him from 7 years ago. He's like, oh, you that villain that got arrested for assault or some shit like that. You told me your villain name, it was Ending. And Ending actually cuts him off there and introduces himself. But you look at his face, he's so happy, he's so crazy. He's very, like, someone in the comments I think said this is like the ultimate case of notice me senpai, and I'm like, yeah, this guy is batshit crazy. Like, this guy, he was not injecting trigger into himself, he was injecting freaking Britney 2007 blood or some shit. So he's very happy that Endeavor's recognized him. He's like, oh yeah, I'm Ending. And I was like, okay, cool. Endeavor's still charging towards him. And he talks about how Endeavor had so many things that he could never get no matter how hard he tried. I want to be just like you. So it's like freaking Stan, Eminem, if you're old enough for that. I'm not sure about the age of my demographic. Maybe you know. But he says that he never had a single thing to protect. So he wants to be Endeavor. That's his thing. He's such a fanboy of Endeavor. He wants to be Endeavor. He doesn't even have a quirk like him though, which is kind of unusual. But he wanted the same things that Endeavor had, but he couldn't get it no matter how hard he worked. So he's just crazy. He's pure crazy. Endeavor still charges towards him, and then very Medusa-like once again, he forms like a sharpened arrow out of this paint or the whatever he's using for his quirk, and he says, "I'm gonna kill this guy," aiming at Natsuo. And he says, so please, Endeavor, don't make the same mistake twice. Don't just get me locked up for assault again. This time, make sure you kill me. Crazy. Now, there are a few things here which we need to address. I didn't think this would be a 12-minute review at the moment, but it is. So a few things we need to address. First, this guy's obviously batshit crazy, but he said that the first thing he did was snoop around on Endeavor's past, on his life, on what he's done, on his history, right? Is he going to spill the beans on Toya? He's going to spill the beans on what happened to one of Endeavor's kids, one of his boys. He's going to spill the beans on maybe Toya still being alive, or how Toya died. He's going to give us some of the exposition on that. Is there going to be a flashback? I hope there is. And is he going to then go on to say, you thought Toya was dead, but he's not. He's chilling in the League of Villains. His name is Dabby, and all the freaking fans are going to dab on that shit, and I'm going to be like, okay, that's pretty cool. But is he going to drop more information on this Toya situation? Because that's what's been going on these last couple chapters, right? This chapter, they bring up Toya again. Last chapter ended with Toya being brought up. So, and Endeavor going to the shrine and kind of, paying his respects. So I feel like this Ending guy is going to give us a little bit more flesh around the story of Toya. The other thing is the 3 kids, Bakugo, Shoto, and Deku. Their whole thing, their whole shtick over the last week and since they've interned with Endeavor has been, can you apprehend a villain faster than Endeavor can? This is the situation for that. Endeavor he's basically had to stop in his tracks, because if he continues to move towards this guy, or if he makes any sudden rash movements without trying to convince this guy, which I think is going to be the approach he takes, Natsu's going to die. Endeavor's not going to waste he's not going to let his son die in front of him. That's his major consideration right now. How do I stop this guy from killing Natsu? I can't approach him, because the faster I approach him, the more likely he is to, get excited, boner alert, and kill freaking Natsu. So how can I stop this? So while this guy is fanboying and like drooling all over Endeavor, the 3 kids can, roll around the back, hit a dirty sack on the QB, and probably knock out this Ending guy before he even realizes he's got a fist straight up his ass, saving Natsu in the process and allowing Endeavor to be like, I'm gonna show you what freaking bonfire night looks like down here in Japan. And I'm hoping that's kind of what happens, but after we get a bit more Dabi/Toya exposition. So those are the 2 things I really wanted to talk about. There's also the underlying kind of storyline of how did Ending get his hands on the drug trigger? Is there somebody else here with him? Is this something have we not foreseen that there might be a League member somewhere there with him? I don't think we're gonna get the League going straight at straight to freaking Endeavor's house. But he got his hands on the drugs. He knows more people than he's letting on at the moment, or than he's vocalizing. So that's kind of the other underlying issue. But I enjoyed the chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of it. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And for the first time in a long time, you're getting a review on the same day of a chapter release. So I'll see you guys in a bit.